So everyone's been going crazy online, attacking Nintendo, defending Nintendo, just Nintendo fans at each other's necks over a recent post about how Nintendo did over the holiday season. We know that Nintendo did not have a great holiday. November and December seemed to be really bad for Switch 2, actually. It even seemed like the PS5 was doing better than the Switch 2 for the holiday. And then we have even more reports going off of what Nintendo had responded to that, saying that they believe it's because of shifts in the economy and also the lack of a major Western game. But we just got a report from Dr. Serkan Toto on Twitter that states Nintendo stock in Japan is sliding. The all-time high of 14,795 yen in August of 2025 and closed at 9,950 yen today. So since August of 2025, Nintendo's been seeing a steady decrease in their stock all the way to today, so around a 33% drop in 5 months. And he also states investors are spooked apparently by possible price hikes, lack of first-party hits, and US-Europe hardware discounts during the holidays. Oh boy, we have a lot to unpack here. So first things first, I'm not going to be one of the people that just sit here and take a side and just push that one side and that one side only. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say, this absolutely means nothing, Nintendo's perfectly fine, we're all A-okay. And I'm also not going to say this means the worst, like Nintendo is doomed, it's all over. Now, I don't know a bunch about stocks, but I do know this normally happens at the end of the year and the beginning of a new year. This is kind of the market resetting itself. This is, normally something that we can expect. But I think people are noticing this more because this started happening in August of 2025, and also this is still like the first year of the brand new Switch 2. We're not even past the 7-month mark yet. And we know this is something that we normally see right before major Nintendo Directs and stuff, so no, I don't think, there's anything that we need to look at this and say this is problematic necessarily. What is kind of problematic though is what investors are saying, and even Nintendo themselves. Lots of people want to argue about this, and it's something that's been a big argument so far with the entire life cycle of the Switch 2, but investors are apparently spooked by not only price hikes, but also the lack of first-party hits. This is something that fans are arguing about nonstop because it's something that I have been saying since the very beginning. I've made multiple videos on this last year, literally just months after the Switch 2 came out, especially right after that September Direct. It felt like Nintendo didn't have any bangers in their bag, anything that really got fans excited for the next year. I mean, you look at the slate of games coming out this year, but instead of looking at it through Nintendo fanboy eyes, look at this list as an investor, because even as a Nintendo fanboy, this doesn't excite me that much. And I know dang well this doesn't excite the casual consumer or just the casual gamer. And this is definitely not going to excite investors. They see people talking about this. It's been trending for months and months about how weak 2026's lineup is for Switch 2 so far. Now, of course, this is going to get expanded on greatly within the next coming Nintendo Direct, which is going to probably happen at the beginning of February. So that's not to worry too much right now. But still, yeah, investors are like, what's the deal? Where's the big games at? For some reason, people like to argue this one with me the most. Like, this is probably the biggest argument I've had with fans this entire year is Nintendo doesn't have a lot of heavy hitters with Switch 2. People love to bring up, of course, Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong, and I'll be honest with you, Mario Kart World is going to be a heavy hitter regardless. It's a launch title game, it's a game that's already a pack-in game with Switch 2, and it's a new Mario Kart after 11 plus 12 years, you know what I mean? Mario Kart World could have been a poop simulator where you drive as a playable poop, and people would have bought this thing up. Like, of course, there is no way in the world a new Mario Kart game was going to sell well, but after Mario Kart, there's really nothing else. Donkey Kong Bonanza, I thought for sure was going to be a lot bigger of a deal for a lot of people, but I think it's just the IP of Donkey Kong doesn't match that of Mario or Zelda, and it just didn't register as big as what a 3D Mario would have. And I think a lot of people just saw, okay, new Donkey Kong, do I go out and spend $450 for that? Probably not. In fact, most of my casual gamer friends didn't even really know much about Donkey Kong at all. They were like asking me about the next 3D Mario, or where's Zelda at and stuff, because that's the things they know about, you know what I mean? That's the stuff that casual gamers are going to know. When you talk about Nintendo to people that play Xbox and PlayStation and just other games, they're going to be like, okay, well, the Switch 2 is a thing. Well, where's the Mario game? Where's the Zelda game? Where's the Animal Crossing game? Where's the Smash Brothers game? That's the stuff that people are asking for. And then you look at the holiday season, and regardless of how you feel about Metroid Prime 4, Kirby Air Riders, and even Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, these games are not going to push consoles. These are not console pushers. When these investors are saying they want to see a big first-party game, they're talking a big first-party game. Look at the sales of literally just the top 15 Switch games. I mean, number 15 being at 15 million, Animal Crossing New Horizons at 48 million, Smash Brothers at 36 million, Zelda Breath of the Wild 33, Mario Odyssey almost 30 million. I mean, you go through this list and just look at how big these games are, and of course they're your big Marios, Zeldas, Pokemons, and some other franchises are getting up there like Splatoon and Kirby, but yeah, they're your big hitters. They're your big stuff that everyone's talking about. You know, everyone's going to be talking about the next 3D Mario when it's announced, or the next Zelda, or Animal Crossing, Smash Brothers, Mario Maker, Luigi's Mansion, whatever you decide to go with. So as an investor, you're looking at this lineup for next year, and it's just like, there's a lot of games on that slate. I mean, next year has a lot of titles coming out. Now, a lot of them might be, you know, DLCs or Switch 2 editions, ports, or Switch 1 games, but still, there's a lot of games coming out that Nintendo is probably going to fill those first 6 months with. And once again, don't come to me arguing about what's a big game or not, or talking about me ranting on about 3D Mario for the billionth time, when Nintendo themselves literally said that the poor sales in the holiday came down to complicated economic landscape mixed with high price points and, quote, the absence of a major Western game. Combine that with the fact that investors are already spooked because there's a lack of major first-party hits. That's not a good thing to be hearing, you know, just what, 6 to 7 months of the Switch 2's launch? Yeah, I said it. Here's the bright side though. Nintendo sees this, and they know that not only are their own employees, senior employees that work for them, saying that they're lacking major first-party games, but also investors are wanting to see more games. So Nintendo has a chance to finally put everybody to rest, to shut everybody up, and have an extremely good Nintendo Direct. Will they? Probably not, but you know what? This is their opportunity. What better way to start the new year in the second 6 months of the new Switch 2 console than to come out with a banger Nintendo Direct? You already had a very lackluster Nintendo Direct for Switch 2 in September. You got grifters talking about your console and pretty much everybody just talking bad about the Switch 2. Your recent Switch 2 games didn't, you know, review all that well, and we don't even know if they're going to sell all that well. You have people making fun and downplaying your 2026 lineup. Show them. Show people why they desperately need to get their hands on a Switch 2 in 2026. They need to come out with this show showing everything that we already heard about. You know, the games that we already know: Splatoon Raiders, Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave, Tomodachi Life, Rhythm Heaven Groove, Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, and show why all of these games are super special, whether they're spin-offs or side projects. Show why people need to pick these up and let them look really good. Like, put them in the light that they deserve. But without a doubt, you have got, and I mean you have got to announce one major game. At least one. Here comes your daily dose of 3D Mario talk. Look, it doesn't even have to be 3D Mario, as much as it definitely should be and kind of needs to be. You've got to announce a game that's truly going to get the general population excited. Not just Nintendo fans, but casual fans and just the entire gaming industry. You need people talking about Nintendo again, the way they were with Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey, and even with Splatoon 2 to some degree. You need people getting that word of mouth around. People saying, man, maybe it's now worth to get a Switch 2 just to play this new awesome 3D Mario. I think other games could fill that role. I think some big return of an IP, a huge remake of maybe like Ocarina of Time, or even like a brand new Luigi's Mansion could fit the bill. But based on the way the investors are talking and the way Nintendo's, you know, holiday sales are kind of I feel like it's kind of gotta be the time to announce something like the next 3D Mario or Smash Brothers. It's the two games that make sense and feel like it's about time for them. You could also throw in Luigi's Mansion in there if you want, but yeah, I feel like one of those three games, whether it be Luigi's Mansion 4, the next Smash Brothers, or the next 3D Mario, one of those has got to happen. If they do fumble this Nintendo Direct as well, that wait for the Summer Direct is going to feel like forever, and I think it's going to answer the question for a lot of people about what the Switch 2 is like, and a lot of people are just going to pass on it, and they're just going to go buy the PS5, or they're going to go do something else. Like, I think people are going to start giving up if this Direct doesn't hit. or even announcing something like a, new Switch Sports Resort, or maybe like a new Ring Fit Adventure style of game, something active. They normally sell very well and get people very interested because it's that nostalgia feeling from the Wii Sports. So something like that too could be pretty big for this year. But I'm feeling optimistic, but carefully optimistic, if that makes sense. Like, I'm going into this thing not super excited for this February Direct. I don't have a whole lot of hype for the thing, but I am just interested. I think that's mostly where I'm at. I'm interested to see what Nintendo's going to do. Trust me, expectations have been far in check now, especially after that last Nintendo Direct. So no, I'm not going into this thing 100% expecting a 3D Mario or Luigi's Mansion or anything like that, but I think the expectations from the investors and just the rest of the world is going to be higher than, what I'm having, because I think people are ready to see them do some big things now. But I feel like Nintendo's going to have a good Direct regardless, but they need to have a great Direct, an excellent Direct even. This is a big one for them. I know I say this every time, but this truly is maybe the last end-all be-all Direct for them for a while. With us already around halfway through January, I'm sure that Nintendo Direct is right around the corner. I'm still predicting that first or second week of February like it normally is. I know there's been some sources hinting that it could be sometime in January still. Time will tell, but let me know down below what you're expecting from this Nintendo Direct. Do you think Nintendo is in a critical situation here where investors are demanding more and the stocks are lowering? People want to see big games from Nintendo, but what do you think about all this? Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe, stay up to date on all things Nintendo, and I hope you all have a blessed day. See ya, guys.